Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right guys, Skywatch Media has got a new upload, so let's watch it together.
Third week of October 2016. Back in January of this year, a proclamation was made by Caltech researchers that newfound evidence indicates that a giant planet on a bizarre, highly elongated orbit in our solar system actually exists and could be having a profound effect on other planets, including our own. A bombshell article just published by the New York Daily News is reporting that a mysterious unseen planet could be causing the sun to tilt and adding a significant wobble to the solar system. This announcement was made on October the 19th at a meeting of the American Astronomical Society's Division for Planetary Sciences. This statement would be 9 months to the date when the Caltech researchers initially reported that a massive planet was lurking within our solar system. Now, this is a big deal in terms of whether there exists a planet X, because it further fuels the speculation that something is out there tugging at the planets within our solar system and causing our sun to act in an unpredictable manner. Elizabeth Bailey, the author of this newfound research, has said that this planet is so massive that its orbit is tilted compared to other planets, and therefore the solar system has no choice but to slowly twist out of alignment. While the planets in our solar system orbit the sun in a flat plane, the plane itself rotates at a 6-degree tilt, making it appear that the sun is cocked at an angle. The research indicates that Planet 9 appears to orbit at about 30 degrees off kilter from the other planet's plane, thus throwing off the other planet's orbits with its massive tilt. So if there is in reality a massive planetary presence within the confines of our solar system, as Planet X followers and observers have suggested for many years, why has it taken so long for the media to catch up with the studies and the research that is suddenly being published? That there is credible evidence now to conclude that a massive rogue planet exists in our solar system, which is causing havoc with our planets and with the sun. The answer is quite simple. Members of the elite, who are empowered with the task of controlling the information that is readily available to the public, are caught between a rock and a hard place, a catch-22 in other words, when it comes to declaring a global emergency due to the influential presence of a governing body within the solar system. To do so would be consequential to the global economy and to the financial welfare of all nations. The mission of secrecy makes perfect sense for the few who control the power and wealth, but for the many who are kept in the dark, it is a subject of great consequence. As I have mentioned in past videos, NASA and the scientific community have known about the existence of this massive planetary body since the early 1980s, when they first announced the discovery of this elusive planet lurking in the outer reaches of our solar system. The announcement of their discovery was made in January of 1983, which is 33 years ago. One can only surmise that this planet, which is actually part of a binary system of planets, has traveled many millions of miles across the solar system since 1983, which today would bring it much closer to the planets of the inner solar system, depending upon its actual trajectory. In December of 1983, the Washington Post concurred with the New York Times that something larger than Jupiter is lurking out there. Apparently, the announcement of the discovery was unintentional, as the policy today is to remain silent. They have had 33 years to make a public statement about this discovery, but you must remember that they are under a gag order to the National Security Agency. They all signed a non-disclosure agreement, which means they either remain silent about this or jeopardize their careers and their reputations. So what are they observing that gives credence to the existence of a giant rogue planet in our solar system? Let's consider the astronomical events taking place right now. Recent solar sunspot activity is the highest it has been in over 8,000 years. According to the study's findings, sunspot activity has been more intense and lasted longer during the past 60 to 70 years than at any time in more than 8 millennia. The long-term increase in solar irradiance is heating both Earth and Mars. The head of space research at St. Petersburg's Pokova Astronomical Observatory in Russia says the Mars data is evidence that the current global warming on Earth is being caused by changes in the sun. A 300% increase in galactic dust entering our solar system. Every year, about 40,000 tons of cosmic debris fall onto the Earth, much of it creating meteors. Some researchers have suggested recently that high dust inputs into the Earth's atmosphere, sustained for centuries or longer, could be responsible for ice ages and mass extinctions. According to the Keck Observatory in Hawaii, the once placid planet of Uranus is experiencing intense cloud activity, storms, and auroras. Venus and Mars are also seeing significant atmospheric changes taking place, where, for example, Mars is experiencing the formation of clouds and an ozone layer. Internal studies conducted by NASA since 1983 only lead to one conclusion: that they are aware of a large planetary body approaching from the direction of the South Pole. And because it is coming our way from south of the ecliptic and visible only in the infrared spectrum, amateur astronomers are unable to track its movement. Now, we do know that under the right atmospheric conditions and the right locations, it can be seen by random chance. And that is why smartphone cameras and video webcams have been able to capture its presence in a particular light spectrum. So there is the scientific perspective that would suggest the presence of a mysterious heavenly body, but there is also a religious perspective to what is happening these days. Some of you question, why should I bring up religion into a discussion based mainly on scientific research and data? Well, I don't carry religion on my shoulders, and I don't claim to be the most knowledgeable person with respect to theology, but I do know a thing or two about the teachings of the Bible. As a former church missionary, I became quite acquainted with the scriptures. The words that are contained within its teachings are a testament of both nature and time. The scriptures, as we know, have been interpreted by man over many centuries. But if you follow the words of Revelation, you begin to understand what the sixth seal and the wrath of God has in common with the future presence of a planet X. The 6th chapter of Revelations best describes what will come upon the earth in the latter days. If you read this passage, you will notice that the following events will occur. There will be a great earthquake. The sun will become dark.
Okay, the earthquake, that kind of marries itself with possibly the hadith about the three great landslides, one in the west, one in the east, and one in the Arabian Peninsula. The sun going dark for 3 days, that's hadith also, subhanallah. So there are certain, at least, uh, commonalities between what the revelation states about this a certain event occurring and the relationship it may possibly have with actual hadith as well.
And the moon will turn to blood. What could cause these three major events to happen in sequence as it relates to?
Now, the moon turning to blood, I mean, this is something quite important for our ulama to look at simply because it's important to the other two major religions. Judaism is one, and Christianity is another. Now, in the last 1,000 years, and this is quite a statistic, the moon has only we've only experienced a blood moon, a tetrad. So I mean, in a triple blood moon, 3 times in 1,000 years. This year, it turns out, at least officially documented, we've had about 6 or 7. But in the research circles, we've actually experienced 9 so far, with more to come. The Jewish herald this as a big important sign for their Messiah to come. Now, in Islam, we understand that to be, and I think even Christian eschatology points towards that as well, is that will be the Antichrist, okay, the son of perdition, the man of lawlessness, Dajjal, Lanutullahi alayhi, the Antichrist, the deceiver. So, I mean, it's important because these signs are being experienced right now. So, I mean, our ulama certainly want to look at this, rather than discount it as just mere happenstance, when in fact there might be something very serious on the horizon.
To future events. Is it possible that a massive planet, such as a planet X, may indeed be the cause of the blackening of the sun and the turning of the moon to blood? Certainly, the passage of a massive heavenly body would cause an earthquake, and the reference to stars falling from the skies means
the stars falling from the sky. I've done an upload previously, which is about the I think it was the sixth trumpet, I think. So I mean, there's 7 trumpet sounds, and the sixth, I think, was the stars falling from the tail of Draco, the dragon constellation, and we experienced that recently, where a comet debris was falling from that particular constellation. And one of the Christian eschatologists that I've been very privileged to benefit from. His pseudo name, at least his pen name, is Turin Reza. His actual name is Jimmy, and Jimmy Reza, and he's done 2 very extensive books on eschatology. And he's been kind enough to share those PDFs with me. He actually sells those books on Amazon. And this individual does periodically comment or email me, alhamdulillah, with some very, very, very useful outlook on the uploads that I'm sharing on the channel. And he's alluded towards this as well. So, I mean, there certainly seems to be certain things happening on the horizon which tally up with certain prophecies in Christianity as well as Judaism. And then there's certainly Islamically, we've got many things that the Prophet ﷺ has highlighted will happen. And this binary star system is one explanation that could potentially be responsible for many of those particular ahadith, which is, for instance, the 3 days of darkness, as we're experiencing our sun right now. And I've hypothesized and provided evidence to that effect on the channel, where we're claiming that the sun is going dark. And I think I've uploaded maybe 5 parts to that, the 3 days of darkness, and why, and how our sun's energy is being drained as we speak, but it's being cloaked and we can't see it. And they're using a solar sun simulator, which is orbiting closer to Earth's atmosphere in front of the sun. So we don't really get to see our sun, but what we're seeing is something that's very artificial and projecting its heat, warmth, and light onto our surface. Then there's we've hypothesized that there's a dwarf star, and this dwarf star seems to have a huge a comet debris tail, asteroid debris, and dust debris, and we may very well be enter through its through this debris tail. And as we do that, there's no reason to not believe that we're not going to be basically targeted by these meteorites. I mean, they'll certainly fall into our atmosphere. Then there's the moon, certainly it turning blood. I mean, blood red. That happens when the sun is under the horizon, and then it picks up this shade from the atmosphere, which is reflected onto the moon. And we've been seeing that. I witnessed it with Mashallah Pirbhai in Blackburn together. Once we were there, I showed it to him. He didn't really notice it at the time, but once we discussed it, he started researching it, and he found that it was correct. That's exactly what we were witnessing. But that's been happening quite a lot, quite often this year, more than ever recorded in history. And then you've got the again, these planetary bodies could very well just basically eclipse the sun and the moon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best during its passage and its retrograde orbit. And then you've got its magnetic and gravitational influence. And there seems to be, at least according to my hypothesis, 3 celestial bodies that can do that. One is the primary star, which is the proton-neutron star. The other is a red dwarf star. And then the other is a planet which is popularly known as Planet 9. At least in astronomy circles, and in the occult circles as Nibiru, the Sumerian tablets. And this particular planet seems to have a very nickel and iron, very strong nickel and iron composition, which could have a magnetic and recently I hypothesized that maybe that was the planet that was responsible for the Earth's magnetic poles and magnetic field collapsing for a few days, and not so long ago, just a week ago. So I mean, all of these claims certainly seem to kind of like point towards the possibility of a binary star system that would actually cause this. And then in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by a star. Now, if we see anything in the heavens that remotely looks like a star, then our ulama should be looking at that, simply because your creator, my creator, our creator, the creator of all things that exist, has sworn by a star. No one can say with absolute conviction that humanity, since the revelation of the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has already experienced or seen that star. And no scholar has conclusively said that yet. And we can't make that claim because there's nothing to suggest that. Now, if there's a possibility that something may possibly marry itself with that particular statement in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it certainly merits cause for our ulama to start looking and studying this phenomena in order to establish whether indeed this is a real phenomena, it is a real star system, and this is a real star, and that it's the one being referred to possibly in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it is, then it's significant simply because our creator swore by it. It's significant. It's as simple as that, to be honest with you. And you know, I mean, like I said, I've always tried to divorce this from my dreams and what I've been seeing in my dreams. I clearly saw this star, and I've not seen it once, and I've seen these celestial bodies often. The most recent one was this very bright star with a blue haze around it, and it was followed by a blue and a red planet. Now, recently we saw an article just the other day that was published by the Californian University, and it was talking about a binary system. And in that, interestingly enough, they mentioned 2 gas giants as well, 2 planets, one of which happened to be 0.1 AU away from its star, right? and we discussed that that's probably the one that Paul Cox had basically shown us in his uh, 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 um, um, video on the passage of Mercury past our sun not so long ago, and I uploaded that. That's the first video that I've uploaded on my channel 4 months ago, I think. So, I mean, there seems to be a planet that's very close to this star, and if this star is going out in its trajectory, then certainly it's going to be tailed by this planet. And then this other planet, which was red, and I think that's the one that's basically behind us, or maybe the blue one. I don't know whether it's the red one that's next to the primary star or the blue one that's next to the primary star. Maybe perhaps it's the red one, and then the blue one is basically behind us. Why I say the blue one is just again through process of elimination. If you think about the bodies that are closer to the sun, they're going to be scorched, and the surface is going to be red simply because of the soil experiencing more heat. You've got, for example, Australia, which obviously certainly enjoys that a hotter region in terms of its proximity to the sun, the equator, and hence why you'll see the soil is very reddish, right? So I mean, any planetary body that's closer to its star, you'll find that its surface level, at least, it would be red. At least that's a good explanation for it. And the one that would have a blue surface level indicates that it kind of has an atmosphere or even water on its surface, and it just makes, like, for example, you've got Neptune, which is in the far reaches of our solar system, and it seems to be very blue. So again, this other system, maybe perhaps the blue one will be the one that's going to be behind us, and the one that's affecting and is notoriously called Nibiru and Planet 9 in the scientific circles. Maybe that's behind us in terms of its orbit. And this red planet may be next to this primary star. So as we probably see it go past, and if it does indeed, and it's out on its trajectory, and we see it in our horizon, it's very possible that we're going to see this star, this piercing bright star, with a red planet trailing it, and then a blue planet. Either way, what I saw in my dream was that piercing star with two planets, one of which was red and blue, over our horizon. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Anyway, just
meteorites impacting the Earth. So we could logically conclude that the Planet X system could be responsible for most of the impact damage that the Book of Revelation warns about. So do the words of Scripture and the findings of the scientific community provide a subtle warning regarding a major catastrophe waiting to happen? Certainly major changes are happening to our planet, which we just cannot wrap our finger around because theories abound about the cause of the changes that are taking place. As I have said before, the truth is out there. You just have to know where to look for it. If you spend more time looking at the sky, as well as your earthly surroundings, you will notice just how quickly everything is changing. We live in strange times, but these are also times in which we come to terms with who we are and why we are here. If we succeed in our quest for truth, then we will be better prepared for what lies ahead.
Jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanul jazaa for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.